Hey, everybody, it's Anna. So I hope you're able to join me for this live stream or in the replay. If you do, check in, let me know you're here. So we are going to finish this live stream. We're going to finish with the numbers, the numerology of tarot. So we did the 1, 2, 3 with the first video, the 4, 5, 6 with the second video, and now we're doing the 7, 8, 9. That will finish up all of our numbers, or at least the way I use the numbers in the tarot. So yeah, just checking. I see a few people are waiting, so hopefully you'll be here and checking in very soon. So yeah, I mentioned, I think the first video, I don't know if I mentioned it in the second one, but I like, whenever I'm learning anything with the tarot, I like to kind of pull out the cards that I'm going to be using. So I have all of my 7, 8s, and 9s separated from the deck. I did that with the others as well. And what's nice about that is, especially if you're trying to understand the meaning or how you're going to use the numbers as a meaning, it's nice to see if you can find the theme, like the signals in the cards that show you the theme. So we will start with the 7s. I connect the number 7 to discernment or making wise choices. So it's about choosing for your highest purpose or your highest good. And so, of course, we have 4 7s in the minor arcana. Here they are. I'm using the Modern Witch Tarot just because since I separated out my cards, I didn't want to use my regular Rider-Waite. So we've got 7 of Swords, which is the mind, right? So I like this image, and this one's different than the other. This woman doesn't look like she's sneaking through a military camp like the Rider-Waite. But basically, I actually kind of like the guy sneaking through the military camp, like he's stealing swords, because I think this is about choosing. So swords are the mind, right? So I think it's about choosing your mindsets, making choices that match your highest good. So when I see the 7 of Swords, I feel like it's the mind cleaning house. And like the mind's learning what we're trying to do and kind of following the intuition's lead. And it's making sure it has the right mindset, strategies, ideas, or communications to match that. So I always think of this card as the guy or this woman, picking up the sword she wants. And there's also, she's leaving behind the sword she doesn't want. So that's how I would connect that to the 7. 7 of Wands is this person like standing their ground. Wands are connected to fire, feeling excited and having inspiration and feeling confident. So this would be choosing your passion, choosing your purpose, choosing where you're going to stand. And in this case, not only is she standing there, she's ready to defend it. I kind of have issues with the defense part because I think if you're defending for a fight, you're kind of inviting a fight, which is a little bit of an issue with the swords, with the Wands trajectory. But it is about choosing and standing firm. You've made your choice. You know what you're choosing. You know where your passion's leading, and you're ready to just commit to it all the way. 7 of Pentacles. Pentacles are connected to the physical realm. I actually like this one because it is about choosing, but it's about reflecting. So pentacles are about things you can see and taste and touch. This woman has this beautiful plant she's been tending, but she's pausing in her tending to look in the sky, like she's contemplating. And when this card shows up, I think it's about like checking in on your choice. Like there's lots of things we can do that are successful and impressive looking, but does it still match what you want to do? So there's a pause to say, yeah, I'm doing this, it's working out, but does it still feel connected to what I'm doing? I'm supposed to be doing on the planet. It can be in a moment for reflection and maybe even some adjustment. If you discover that you're investing in something that other people want, other people are excited about, but it doesn't feel like it matches you, that'd be that 7. And the 7 of Cups, which is literally cups are connected to intuition and the heart. And the 7 is, he's choosing or she's choosing. All the people in this deck are women, I think. So this woman has these 7 cups in front of her and she gets to pick the one she wants. And to make your choice, you follow your heart. You follow what seems most exciting, most sparkly, right? That's how I see this card. There's all these opportunities. You get to pick which one matches you. Okay, so those are the minor arcana 7s. Hi, Yum Nom and Tibbs. I keep seeing 7s recently. So you must be having to make choices. You're being invited to do choices. And those old series like the Mind Games. This is your tarot videos, and those old series like the Mind Games have been helpful. Yeah, I kind of forgot those videos even existed, but you're right. They've been out for a little while. And the credit solutions, these popped up in all of my spreads this week. Okay, well, So everybody's making choices. And hi, Moon Woman. Nice to see you too. Okay, these are the sevens in the major arcana. We have the Chariot. No, the Chariot's first. Chariot. This is a motorcycle instead of a chariot, which is kind of cool. But so the Chariot is a powerful engine for momentum. But in the Rider Waite, and even here, there's no action taken yet because the charioteer is looking across the horizon to pick where they want to go. And I would say I also connect this card to the surfacing of joy, because I think joy is the highest momentum we can have. So really, you're waiting for your highest momentum, your highest indicator of excitement, and then you make your choice. The Chariot is not actually in motion. It is waiting to take action based on your choosing. So that's also happening there. And then the Tower, which is interesting. Like the Tower is about, it's a 7 card. And so it is about, people often think the Tower is about destruction, but I think it's also about joy. It's almost like, I think the Tower falls apart because structures fall apart when it's a structure that falls apart when you've gotten too big for it. And I think joy is what expands us. Joy is what makes us reach beyond things and try new things and get excited about new things. And when that happens, old structures often fall apart. So yes, it can be disorienting. It can be pretty upsetting to the mind because the mind likes stability, but joy is not stable. Joy is an energy that's in flow. And so I think the Tower falls apart when the joy gets too big and it's in flow and the structure's in the way and you knock it down and move on. So that's one way of reading the sevens in the major arcanas. And let me know if you have any thoughts about that. Let's see. I'm going to check in really fast. Hi, Corey. Yum Nom says, I associate sevens with slot machines. Okay. I don't know much about that, but I'll take your word for it. Making choices that align with thoughts and feelings for a change. Thoughts, if you're a mental intuitive, definitely thoughts can be where you align. If you're a body or heart intuitive, you're probably going with your gut feeling or your heart or your emotional truth. So it really is about making choices. Is really, you can make choices best if you know your own compass. And that means you know the voice of your own intuitive genius. So that's part of the journey, is figuring out what is the linear logical, like the mind's version of things, which is very logical, and what is sort of your genius, your calling. So I think that's how it works through. Let's see. Leo said, could you please explain 222 is everywhere for me? I don't know. 222. I mean, I can talk about what the number 2 means in the tarot. For me, it's about germination and rooting in, like letting something integrate. Like when you've got a seed in the ground, something is planted and you're waiting for it to germinate. So you can look back at the old video if you want to see more about that. But that's how I associate the 2s. Let's see. RB Joy. I'll choose to watch your lives. Well, good. I'm glad you're here. And Patty says, the Tower terrifies me. Yeah, the Tower can be kind of scary, but it's always, I think it's a good omen, because it means, like, if we look at it as a 7 card, it means that there's it's a choice, right? Even though we often don't think we're making the choice. Like sometimes the Tower feels like it's falling apart around us. Like your soul is making a choice for expansion. So it is serving your highest good. That's the lens I use. Now I know not everybody feels that way. So, but I'm always looking for, that the universe is working for us. Our soul knows how to navigate it. Our intuition has a genius to bring forth into the world. So everything around us is in service to that. That doesn't mean it's easy or it's fun, but it means that we are living a human life, and the human life has lots of challenges. There's gravity, there's sickness, there's illness, there's lots of things that happen. There's death. So there's lots of things that are challenges. So the question is, how do we navigate them? And I think that the way I look at the tarot, it's about how do I navigate them and help my clients navigate them from a place of faith and confidence, because that tends to be the path my clients are in. They're in a path typically of faith and creativity and expansion, not a status quo path. If you're in a status quo path, then probably the Tower feels very different. So I can acknowledge that the Tower can be pretty frightening, and it pretty much is always frightening to the mind, because that means what you were counting on, what felt familiar, is now gone. And you have to figure something else out. But the figuring the something else out is where the adventure sets free again. So I kind of like it. But okay. Hi Leo and Tibbs. I hated the Tower. Right now I'm loving it. Yeah, I love the Tower. I think the Tower is a lot of fun. But I kind of like chaos a little bit. Like I'm kind of a chaos girl. So I kind of love chaos. Okay, so we'll move on to the eights. Um, Eight, I connect to power and flow. So if you think about them in sequence, which I do think of them in sequence, right? You've got the seven is making a choice. You've made your choice, and now you're in flow. Now the chariot moves into action. Now the tower has released you, and now you've kind of made your choice. And now we're going to really walk in confidence because we chose according to our highest purpose, right? I mean, that's theoretically we did. In my world, we did. So we've got four minor arcana eights. The swords. This is one of my favorite cards because it looks like it's about entrapment, but it's eight. It's an eight card, so it can't be about entrapment. That's actually why I love the numbers, because they challenge your expectations sometimes. This woman is blindfolded. She's in a cage of swords. You're like, yeah, this girl's in trouble. But she's also got a rope around her, but the rope is really loose. All she has to do is sort of wiggle herself and this rope will fall off. She can take off the blindfold and she can walk away. Now in this card, there actually isn't a castle behind her. Like in the Rider-Waite, there's this little castle. Like, oh, she's not even that far from home, right? So it's a swords card. So swords are about the mind. So what I love about this card, it's the eight mind. It's the mind in flow and power. The mind realizes that the only thing keeping it from being in power is itself. It's got itself stuck. All it has to do is be a little flexible, wiggle a little, get the mind a little looser, and it can release itself from its own trap. So that's why it is a card about power and flow in the mind, because the mind has to realize it's the one that's got itself trapped. Also, just because I love this, that the water shows up a lot, put on the side, a lot in swords cards. The water represents intuition. So I feel like the water shows up in the swords a lot because the mind needs help from the intuition. The mind, the masculine spirituality, or the mind on its own, doesn't know how to be creative or be innovative or evoke magic. But happily, it's not alone. The intuition is always with it. So she's standing in water, which means like the intuition's like at her feet, like helping her. If she can just not panic or feel like, oh, it's all hopeless. If she can sort of wiggle out of those mindsets, she can get herself free. So that's the Eight of Swords. It's one of my favorites. The Eight of Pentacles. This is kind of cool because in the Rider-Waite, this guy's crafting pentacles. So this woman's drawing them, or maybe, yeah, she's drawing them. So she's an artist. And so again, pentacles are the physical realm. This is about flow. This is about having your skill, being in the flow of your skill. And you're so good at it now. You don't even have to think about it. You don't have to work at it. You can just enjoy your own mastery in whatever you're creating. So I love this card when it shows up. It reminds us that we can trust ourselves, that actually at this point, we're not learning anything. The mind doesn't even have to really watch over us or like check on our work, because we're just that good. We can just enjoy the flow of the power of being a master in the physical realm. Then we've got Eight of Wands. Wands is about passion and confidence and fire. And these wands are just literally just flying through the air. So this is probably the highest momentum card, or one of the highest in the deck, because it's just like they're in the air. You can't stop them. They're going somewhere. They're going to land. So the idea of your passions and flow, it's on fire. It's going where it's going. It's already been launched, and now it's heading to its destination. And the final eight is Eight of Cups. I kind of love this card because, well, I love all the cards, but this one shows someone leaving behind their treasures and going into the wilderness in the dark. And cups are about the heart, the intuition, following your intuition. Eight's about flow. And so this person is confidently leaving behind what they've got to seek out the thing that is calling to them. This is the spiritual seeking card. And even though it's dark outside and he can't see, his human eyes may be dulled, like he's walking in confidence anyway, because he's not following his human eyes. He's allowing his heart to guide him, his intuition to guide him. So this is about really honing in. You can hear something calling you, it's calling you, and you've made a decision. That was the seven. You made a decision to flow. And so now you're going to just go for it and see what you can find. So those are the eight minor arcanas. And here are the eight major arcanas. There are two of them. Let me see if anybody else said anything. Getting lots of clues. That's good. Tower power. Yes, RV Joey. I agree. This card always comes up when I procrastinate. Which one? The one of the eights or one of the sevens? I'd like to know because yeah, procrastinating would probably be making a decision. I could see that being a 7 card. It could be an 8 card too though, but like yeah, I think the 7 of cups where the cups are floating, you have to pick. And people often get stuck on that one because it's like, what if I pick wrong? How do I know which is the right one? There's a procrastination is like a fear of messing something up. And what I love about the tarot is the message I get is you can't mess it up because you can't walk into the wrong path. I mean, there is no right or wrong path. You are the evoker of magic. So any path you create is the right path because you're walking it. So like you can't, there is no linear better or worse. It's just some paths have different challenges and different blessings. So, whatever you go, again, wherever you go, your soul knows how to work it for yourself. Your intuition knows how to walk in genius and your mind's good at problem solving. So you can't misstep. So anyway, major arcana eights. Oh, credit solutions. You're saying the 8 of pentacles. So that may be like that procrastination could be the mind. I mean, procrastination is always in the mind. So it could be the mind is anxious. You're not going to do it well enough. You have to be work. Like it's created a threshold where it's not totally trusting that that's your power. That's your skill set's ready. Like, oh, I need to learn more. I need to work harder. I need to pay more attention. And so that's just the mind kind of not fully understanding that you're brilliant yet. So really the mind's job is our job is to convince the mind when it's not got a role to play to just be quiet and observe because magic is in flow. And if the mind will quit trying to run things or question things or, stop things, if it learns to be that it's safe and it's safe and loved and safe with you, then it can just observe. And that often is the mind's challenge is learning how not to try to be in the lead, but to learn how to follow. So that could be what's happening. Patty says, I love the 8s. Yeah. I mean, yeah, integrate action, especially if you're an assertive energy, which almost all my clients are, and I am too. Assertive energies prefer action to integration. Totally. Plus, I mean, action is observable to the mind. So the mind likes it better because it can see it. Integration happens underground and the mind's like, what's happening? That's the mysterious part. That's when things move into mystery and we're not actively observing them or participating in them, or our mind is not. And yeah, those require more faith because there's nothing you can see happening. So yeah, integration is necessary, but it's kind of a drag sometimes for the mind. So the strength card is the first 8 major arcana. Strength shows like she's an angel figure, like embracing a lion. I think she's kind of angelic in this. She still is kind of angelic. But the idea here, the strength is actually in the woman who embraces the lion. And strength is about finding it within ourselves, kind of constantly nurturing our own unconditional love for ourselves, that we don't feel a need to change or cage ourselves up or our vital selves up, or like really trusting ourselves. If that makes sense, because the lion is sort of vital energy and it's energy that most of us have been taught to be afraid of. And so strength is sort of is moving past that fear and realizing this vital energy is a part of you and all it really wants is to be loved. And if we can offer that love and just kind of come to ourselves with open hearts and open hands, like this woman has, then the vital energy doesn't attack us. It doesn't mess us up. It actually responds with connection and with partnership. So I think this is about the ability to love yourself and staying steadfast in loving yourself. So yeah, that would be the strength. That's the lesson of that major arcana card. And I think it's funny because their strength and star are the 2 8s and they're similar, right? They both have women figures, both kind of facing the same direction. And the woman's the central figure, right? So in this case, there's vital energy here. In this case, the vital energy is above her, or the angelic energy is above her. So star is also about feeling through the expansion of yourself. Star follows tower. So after tower, which is a big shifting, a loss of structure, a loss of stability, but breaking free of your energy, then you move into star where you get replenished, renewed, but also you begin to feel out the expansion of yourself. So in both these cases, we're kind of allowing ourselves to be expanded by love. In the strength card, we're allowing ourselves to be expanded in love for ourselves. And in this card, we're allowing ourselves to be expanded into love as blessing. Because I think that when you go through the tower, you do go through expansion. And you want to feel through what that is so that you know how to move in it in clarity and in fullness. So Shauna Leedy says, strength has been showing up many times over the last few weeks. So yeah, had to get clear about why and why I'm afraid of moving forward. Yeah. I mean, yeah, most fears are built into our DNA. So it's easy to say fears are an illusion, but they're a part of the human journey. And so it's not that we cannot be afraid. I don't think that's possible. It's that we can help our minds, we can nurture our minds into practicing faith and love. So they just get better at it. But expecting our minds to be free of fear is completely as long as we're on the planet, like, we're geared for survival, and that's what fear is about. Fear is trying to keep alive. So you're watching for things that are endangering you, and that's the mind's job is to keep you alive. So what we're doing is helping the mind kind of release the survival mode and focus on something else, which is supporting the genius and blessing of the intuition that comes into the planet. So, the mind will do what it learns through repetition. And so the mind, and also there's things that are built in. The fear of death is built into the human condition, and the mind has that fear. And you can definitely like work your mind through it and accompany your mind through it, but you can't solve the fear or get around it. You just have to be kind of committed in loving yourself in the fear. And that's the thing that a lot of my clients struggle with, because we'll work through a fear point, and that we even do healing, but sometimes the fear will come back, or fear will always come back in some form. And they sometimes it's tempting for them to think that they're not making ground, that they're losing ground, or why can't they're not getting it. And I'm like, no, this is it. This is it. This is the journey. The journey is being human and spirit at the same time, and like loving yourself in your fears, and nurturing yourself in your fears, which actually is, I think, that's what the strength card is about. The lion is only going to be dangerous if it feels hated, if it feels fearful, if it feels endangered, right? The reason the lion receives her love in a gentle, quiet way is because she trusts him, it trusts it, and it trusts her, and there's love here. So you can help the mind let go of its fear. And as you accept it in the fear that can't be released. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's important. It's important to like grace for ourselves is, to me, the whole point of the journey. Learning how to be more and more loving and kind to ourselves, and embracing more and more kind of the fragile experience of humanity is what makes the magic possible. Because you couldn't do anything if you weren't human. You couldn't be on the physical plane or do any of the blessings you're here to do if you weren't human. So there's a great blessing to having the human be part of us. It makes us, it teaches you compassion, teaches you kindness, and teaches you faith and love. So yeah, that's what I would say. Yum Nom, would you consider the magician an 8? No, actually the magician's a 1. It's the seed. So, I mean, it's literally in the major arcana. He is the 1 card. So, yeah. Yeah, become friends with fear. Yeah, I mean, it's like you don't have to, but you kind of make peace with death, which is what making friends with fear is like, yeah, we are going to die. So the mind's job to keep us alive, the mind's ultimately not going to be able to pull that off. And so we live in a world where it's almost like we treat death like we fail, like it's failure. And so the mind's trying not to fail. But if we can just let the mind know that, we don't expect it to win this one. The mind doesn't have to worry about that. It can't possibly succeed in this way. So like, let's just take that off. That's not failure. Let's just take that burden off the mind. And instead, while we're here, let's do some cool stuff together, and helping the mind sort of it can't fully release the fear of death, but like, let's not focus on it too much. Let's not spend a lot of time on it, since we can't really do anything about it anyway. Let's not spend a lot of time on that. Instead, let's play. So yeah. Shauna said, yeah, dance between the unknown and being human. Yeah. I mean, that's what this is all about, right? All right, that was the 8. Now we've got the 9. So the 9 I think of is actually the final integration. It's the moment, like the deep breath you take before you cross the finish line, before you step into the 10. So so that is what I think. It's like, it is an integration point. It's a time where you're quiet, you sort of reflect, you kind of, and you can also sort of tell the story. You look back on your story and you sort of make sense of your story, because in the 9 points, the last time the story belongs to you. When it goes to the 10 point, it becomes the world's. You give this gift to the world, and it's no longer yours. So this is your last moment to sort of savor your experience. So of course we've got 4 minor arcana nines. 9 of Wands, that's this guy. It's a woman here, of course. I didn't know if she's got a bandage. Yes, she does. So like in the Rider Waite, and also here, like the person's sort of exhausted and has a patched up head, like they've been in battle. And yeah, the Wands has a lot of battling and struggling and exhaustion in it. But basically, it's like, you're at the end of the battle. You've been to battle, you've done the thing, you're sort of resting now, you're looking back at what you accomplished and taking a breather. So that's passion. Wands are about passion and confidence and energy and all that stuff. So it's like you left it all on the field. You're a little bit tired, maybe a little bit wounded, but you kind of take stock of what you've done. That would be that 9. 9 of Cups is, cups are about the heart, intuition, all that stuff. And this person's sitting in the middle of cups, kind of proud of themselves. They're looking at all their beautiful gold, and they just came back from that 8 of Cups journey, and they found this other cup, and now they've got all this treasure, and just really enjoying, like letting themselves emotionally enjoy, feeling emotionally fulfilled and empowered because of what they've done. So giving yourself a chance to take stock of what you've done and pat yourself on the back. 9 of Pentacles feels very similar to me to 9 of Cups, because this woman's walking in a garden. It's a beautiful garden. It's full of all these beautiful plants that she planted. She planted them, and now she gets to enjoy them. It's all this abundance and verdant garden. I was going to say verdancy, but I don't think verdancy is a word. And Pentacles are the physical realm. So it is about like really savoring this beautiful physical world we live in, the stuff we brought into our lives, and the expansion we've already experienced. 9 of Swords is a little different because 9 of Swords is a woman looking like she's kind of having a panic attack. So that actually makes sense to me. And this is actually the 9 point. There's a feeling of the 9 of Swords in all the 9 points, a potential, because this is the point before the final release. And to the mind, it feels like dying. This is where the mind feels the ground slipping out under its feet, because it's releasing an old mindset. It's completing its work, and it's about to release this piece of work, but it feels like the ground's falling out from beneath their feet. So the mind can feel scary and panicky at this moment. And this is actually the challenge of all the 9s, is that when you get to the final step, you're about to hit transformation, which means everything's about to change. And that is the moment the mind will try to get us, sometimes, often, to stop. This is good enough. It's not, look at all the great things we have. This is amazing. Let's just stay here and enjoy it. Let's just, we've really worked hard. Let's just stay here and enjoy this. And, we don't have to go we can stop here. And that's because the mind's nervous about what happens next. It could be the mind's nervous about it. In this case, in the 9 of Swords, it is like the mind feels like this. It is like a tower feeling, right? Like something I believed in is sort of falling apart. And that can be very disorienting, and it can feel like death. It actually feels like death. So the answer here, the challenge here, is to help the mind realize it's not dying. Like, this is what we've been working for. The mind's made it all the way to the 9 point. It's just, all it takes now is the last step of surrender, and victory will be ours. So this happens, this happens to a lot of us. But realizing what's happening is important, because the mind will suddenly think we made a huge mistake. And all we have to do is like review with the mind. It's another review point. Let's review. We started with this. This is where we went through this challenge. We made it here. Like, sort of saying, yeah, everything was intentional. We did this on purpose. We knew what we were doing. It's just a little scary here at the end, but there is no danger. This woman is having a nightmare, right? There's no actual danger around her. It's internal. So helping the mind recognize there isn't a danger, it's safe, and taking that last step would be the final step of the 9. And there are two, of course, there are 2 9 major arcanas. We've got the Hermit, which is a great card about integration, right? The Hermit basically is the wise old, woman, in this case of the tarot, who knows when it's time to step away, knows when it's time to go into the wilderness and be by themselves, and let their own wisdom surface. So there is this sort of stepping out of the world. And I think it's because we're trying to really hear our own voice. We're trying to surface our own wisdom and surface our own story. So the hermit reminds me of the same energy of we're very close to transformation. And the hermit, I think of the hermit as going into the wilderness to surface the new thing, and then they return with the gift in hand, which would be the transformation point. So that is the role of the hermit. And the moon. The moon is our other nine, which is also about this is about integration, because usually the moon is about us finding parts of ourselves that we left behind, parts of ourselves that got exiled because of trauma or feeling overwhelmed. We left parts of ourselves behind, and now we go into our subconscious, and we're exhuming bodies. We're drawing them back into the light and bringing them back to be part of our whole selves. So the moon it's about like feeling through what's missing, like looking at your story and saying, yeah, what part of me is missing, and going and reclaiming it. So that's how I would connect it to the integration of the nine and the work of the nine. So those are the nines. Let's see. And Madam says, unless you see death as a win. I think death is a win, but it's still scary to the mind, because the mind's its job is to not let you die. It's kind of built into the DNA, is to try to keep you alive. So, yeah, you can definitely help the mind see it differently. You can always train the mind, unless the mind has a wound that's keeping it stuck, which you can heal that. But you can always train the mind to see things differently. I'm not sure you can untrain it from being afraid of death. Maybe give me another 20, 30 years. Maybe I'll pull it off, but I haven't figured it out yet. And you can definitely teach your mind to walk into death grace-filled and like in a relaxed state, but you're still asking the mind to walk in faith, which is always hard. So it's never going to be like an easy peasy ride. I just don't think we're built to do it that way. I don't think the path of faith is easy. I think it's really, really hard. But just some of us we're built to walk that way. And so it's easier to walk a path of faith than to walk in status quo for those of us who do it. But it's everyone's path is challenging in its own way. So hello, Shadow 21. Not so credit solutions. The Knight of Swords comes up when I'm stuck in rumination. Oh, okay. Your mind's kind of keeping you from moving forward. I get that. Let's see. Nine of Swords, am I afraid of failure or the judgment of others? The Nine of Swords, it can argue anything it wants. Like it can argue, oh, we're going to get in trouble. Oh, they're going to judge us. Oh, it's not going to work. Really, it's just the mind suddenly thinks we've made some horrible mistake. Like, what are we doing? Where are we? And it is literally like almost like bonk. You go, oh, where am I? How did I get here? It can be almost that literal, where you your mind suddenly wakes up and thinks, I've made some terrible mistake. And so, if it's coming, which this is what I like about the tarot, it kind of walks us through the process of like, this is what you can expect. At this point, you can expect this. At this point, you can expect this, so that even though the challenge comes still, and it's still a hard challenge, it makes sense. You're kind of teaching the mind the story, so the mind goes, oh, this is where I meet the dragon. This is where the dragon shows up. Okay. Still a dragon, still kind of scary, but like I am at least like prepared to a degree to face it. And I'm not facing it by myself, because I've got the soul with the divine love of the universe backing me. And I've got the intuition who guided me here. And actually, I do trust these energies. So let's go. I think there's that. A good old mirror. If you see life as a journey, and the death and the end is death, and it's the finish line and a win. Yeah. I mean, I think death happens I think that the truth about there's death throughout the journey, which is what the mind's reacting to. So I think, death. So yeah, I think the leaving of death is fine. Actually, I'm going to go through the 10s because I didn't get them earlier. 10s are actually 1 cards because they reduced to 1, but I didn't talk about them in the 1 card. I think that once you release, it's okay again, right? The release step though is hard. It's hard. I think it's hard. I'm going to say for me, it's hard. It's hard for me, like having death in my regular life where I have to let go of things. It's my mind always balks a little. I have to coax it and convince it and reassure it that all is well. I mean, and this is, I think that's required. And if your mind's not having that reaction, then I guess, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what to say to a mind that doesn't. It seems like most minds have struggle with it. And like, and I think it's good to say that and to be loving to that, because we don't want the mind to think it's not supposed to be afraid, because that's kind of like you're telling the mind to gaslight itself, like, oh yeah, I'm cool. And when the mind's, I don't want the mind to be cool. I want the mind to be honest, to feel like it can tell me I'm scared. I'm nervous here, and being able to be loving to that. Like, I don't want my kids to either to tell me they're fine when they're not fine. I want them to tell me how they feel. I want them to feel safe telling me how they feel, and knowing that they're going to be embraced. They're going to be loved. Oh my gosh, there's something. There's a lot of something going on. Okay, a lot of texting going on. So I feel like that to me is sort of the journey of the mind, is the journey with the soul, and the soul kind of deeply loving it and deeply patient and caring for it, so that, and embracing the fact that there's humanness, embracing that the fact that the mind is scared, but it will still walk in faith. It will still learn and expand and love and put itself out there. Like, that's a pretty amazing thing, that you can get the mind to, the mind's willing to take that risk for us, and to be in relationship with the intuition and the soul in that way, that it's willing to do that. So yeah. All right. 10. We're going to go for the 10, because the 10 is the one. Oh, the 10 is the one, right? But it is also, it's the completion and the beginning. It's kind of like the world card, where you're ending and you're beginning at the same time. So the 10 is the one. So it actually is a seed card, right? 10 of cups, where your manifestation of love and connection finally goes worldwide, goes to the community, and it belongs to the world now. So all of these are like, whatever the work is now released from you. It's not your work anymore. It belongs, the blessing you've evoked belongs to the world, and out of this, a seed for the next piece of work. So you got this beautiful people, the beautiful family, they're dancing, they're having a great time under the rainbow. And, a little, and actually in the Ace of Cups, there's a little cup facing heaven. Like, one of these cups stays with you and becomes the Ace of Cups. And now you have an expansion and a new piece of work happens. 10 of Wands, which is the guy, or not a guy, these are all women. I'm carrying the wands, which is like the harvest, carrying it to the town. Yeah, in this case, there is a town. They do have depicted a town here. Like, I'm bringing my wands. I've been working on this vision. Here it is. I give it to the world. And then I go and start over, and not start over, start on something new. So I leave this burden, this gift with others, and I move on. That's the seed card, right? 10 of Pentacles is the gold rains down from the sky, blessing and expansion, wherever everybody gets abundant, everybody's having a party. And, I give it to the world. I give it. This is my blessing. This is my gift, my transformation. I release it and start over with the ace again. So this is the 10 and the ace are kind of like the same card. They're kind of, they come full circle on themselves. And the 10 of Swords, which really feels like connected to the 9 of Swords, because this woman is actually, she's actually alive. In this image, they've got this woman with swords in her, but like, she's on her phone. So I'm not sure what the artist was trying to depict here. But anyway, in the Rider-Waite, the guy's face down with the swords in his back. So there is a sense that he's dead. He's been released. But of course, in the tarot, death is the release to the next point. And that is what the mind was scared of. In the 9 of Swords, the mind's like, oh, we're going to die. I'm like, well, yeah, but it's good, because this is the seed. This is the seed for the next piece. We release this old way of being. In the background, they don't really have a lot of sunshine in the background. In the Rider-Waite, there's a sun coming up, which is basically like, the old day is over. The new day has begun. The new seed is here. We're ready for the next thing. So the mind will like, and there is I don't even think they have a C in here. See, now that I don't like, because there needs to be a huge ocean behind the person in the 10 of Swords, because the ocean's like, this is the intuition. The intuition's ready to carry you into the new dawn. So this is not quite as hopeful looking as I would like for the Rider-Waite. But the bottom line is, like, the mind has released its old thing, and it's ready to start something new. And so the 10 becomes the 1, if that makes sense. So yes. So I went back into the 10s, because I realized when I was going through my cards that I hadn't done them, because they're actually the 1s. So, okay, I'm going to look in 3 and see. Oh, I'm not saying I'm not scared, but I'm trying to battle it. Well, just try to love it. Don't try to battle it. See if you can snuggle it. Let's see. Joe said, my mind has itself convinced that it's not afraid of death. Oh, listen, my mind, what's funny, because now my mind is kind of like, I don't really worry about it a lot, but occasionally my mind will come up with this. It's for the last couple of years, it's been saying, what if we get cancer? Like my mind will randomly say, but what if we get cancer? And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's true. We could get cancer. So like my conversation with the mind's like, you're right. We could get cancer. I don't know what we'll do if we get cancer because it's not happened yet. So I can't really take any action steps. But if we get cancer, you and I will work together on that. And since we don't have cancer right now, maybe we can just focus on what we can do. So it is like I'm navigating with, but my mind's very concerned, not very concerned, but occasionally, right? Like I'm kind of doing my thing and suddenly my mind will be like, but what if we die? And I'm like, okay, well, we will die at some point. You're right. We're not there yet. So instead of doing that, and we can't do anything about that right now. So instead of doing that, but even having that conversation with the mind soothes it. Because instead of saying, no, we're not going to be scared, you're saying, yeah, I know, buddy. I know. My mind's a guy. So I always call him buddy. Like, I know that it's scary. But you're not going to do it alone. I'm going to be with you. And when the time comes, we'll know what to do. I will help you through it. But right now, let's do this other thing. And usually the mind will let you redirect it as long as you've listened to it and validated it and said, I'm with you and I love you. The mind just wants love like everything else, just like the lion and the strength card. It just wants love. And we just want to get better and better at loving it so that it can bring anything to you, anything to us. And we can always offer it that divine unconditional love. So fear can inspire aggression, but it can also inspire empathy. Right, right. Yeah. I mean, fear combined with compassion or filled with love inspires connection. Right. It can go either way. Fear is just a human experience, and how we train our mind to respond to it. Well, if you don't train your mind, it probably will naturally go to a reactive pattern, which is going to be fear, fight, flight, or freeze. Those are the three, because that's the normal pattern of animals with fear. Because the predator's here and you panic, right? And there's an adrenaline response. So if you don't kind of consciously work with the fear in some way and help the mind feel safer, then it's probably going to have one of those three reactions. And that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with those reactions. It's just if those reactions are getting in the way of your calling, then we need to do something about it, because your intuition's here to do something specific, and the mind's flight, freeze, or flight is causing a problem. That's the only reason we really do. If we could be normal, we would be normal. If I could be status quo, I would be status quo. It's just that I'm not built for it. So I have to figure out another path. So this is the path that I use, because my mind needs to be it needs to be able to solve its fear, because I do things that are kind of scary and I'm always doing new things. So my mind has to be kind of light on its feet. So I have to train it for that, and I have to help it feel safe for that. So that's kind of what I'm describing, my own relationship to my mind. Yeah, it's how you're supposed to talk to your child. I think of my mind, well, my mind used to be younger, like my mind's actually growing. But yes, it is like a parental relationship where you're offering unconditional love to your mind. It is the parent, it is the universe, it's the divine. And like that's what both the intuition needs it in a different way, but the mind needs it, especially when it's facing challenges. So I think it's about kind of owning the fact that we do have access to unconditional love. We can channel it, and we're going to be dedicated to bringing that energy to our minds so it can feel safe and loved, and it can be kind of daring in the world and when it needs to be. Joe, yes. What if I die? Yeah, it's funny because my mind used to not do that, but of course I'm about to be 50, so I think my mind's just sort of. And also I've had like weird health things occasionally. My mind's like, what if we're dying? And I'm like, okay, well, I don't think we're dying yet. But I mean, you have to have the conversation, because my mind's asking. Like if my kid came to me and said, what if this? I would have the conversation, even if I know there's no. Like I have a daughter who's not very good at identifying her emotions, and so her emotions go into like her body symptoms. So she'll be like, I think I have a parasite, and I'm like, okay, don't think you have a parasite. Let's talk. Maybe you're feeling anxious. So I'm like, let's talk about how you might be feeling. Cause I'm like, I know you don't have a parasite, or like, I think I have I'm having not a stroke. It was a heart attack one time. she'll come up with all kinds of like symptoms. And I'm like, yeah, I hear you. I hear that this is real for you, but I'm thinking there might be an alternative reason. So yes, it is about like taking seriously what the mind's telling you, taking seriously the concerns, because the concerns are real and the fear is real. It's not something to be ignored or treated lightly or treated like condescendingly. Like it's a real thing, and we want to give it love, and we want to give it like gentle challenge when it needs it. So let's see. It would take just one sword it takes one to kill a body and to fight a mindset. Probably so. Yeah. So yes, that's me for today. I do have a client coming up, so I'm going to go ahead and smudge and shake that entity out of your leg. I don't know. Do I have an entity in my leg? I don't know. It could be. No, I think, but yeah, I think that, it's good to be kind to ourselves. It's also good to have other minds around us sometimes that are loving, because that's a good, the mind does need some kind of partnership often. It's a really hard journey we're asking the mind to be on. And it does better when it knows that there are other people around. Not that creatives often have to do their work, their intuitive work by themselves. But the mind needs support and love, and the mind needs it from us, and we also benefit from other people whose minds are also kind of in faith and in flow, and the mind goes, oh yeah, see, other people do it this way too. Okay, all right, that's good. That makes me feel happier. I'm not totally on my own in this. There are other people doing it. So it's always good to have people around that can affirm that and help calm minds, that help your mind feel calm. So yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and stop for now. I think I might do another, I might do a series, just one live stream on the court cards, because I know those can be kind of confusing. So we might do the court cards next. So you might want to look for that live stream. I'll put it up whenever I've got it scheduled, and I'll see you then. Have a great evening. Bye.